So hello, today we are going to talk about the consolidation phase, which is in the year 1962 until 1975. In the context of learning disabilities, refers to a period where foundational theories, methods, and models related to understanding and addressing learning disabilities were developed and refined. So during this time, key advancements in education and psychology contributed to the consolidation of concepts about learning disabilities. This phase helped clarify the nature of learning disabilities and laid the groundwork for future interventions. Here are 6 explanations of how this period helped consolidate learning disability concepts along with the relevant examples. So before we begin, I will introduce myself and my other team members. So my name is Natalie Elihapani, and the others, which is Nur Shafika, Daniel Hakimi, Salitel, Isnani, and also Niklas. So I will start with the first point, which is clarification of learning disabilities as distinct from intellectual disabilities. So this is one of the key developments during the consolidation phase, was the recognition that learning disabilities were distinct from intellectual disabilities. This distinction helped to focus attention on specific challenges students face in learning, such as dyslexia, dyscalculia, and language processing issue. So for example, in the early of 1960s, educators and psychologists began to identify that students with learning disabilities like dyslexia had normal intelligence but struggle with reading and writing due to specific cognitive processing difficulties, which was different from children with intellectual disabilities.
Moving on to the next one, which is specific of diagnostic criteria. In the 1960s and also in the 70s saw the establishment of more formal diagnostic criteria, which help educators and also psychologists better identify and also understand learning difficulties in children, leading to more effective interventions. For instance, the concept of dyslexia became more defined during this time, whereas it was researched by Samuel Orton and also Anna Gillingham contribute to clearer criteria for identifying individuals with reading disabilities, emphasizing that the issue was neurological than the result of poor teaching or lack of motivation.
Focus on remediations and specialized instructions, the point number 3. During this phase, educators and researchers concentrate on addressing learning disability through specialized instructional method. The focus was on developing technique that specifically remediate challenge faced by students with learning disabilities. For example, phonics-based strategy were implemented to support children with dyslexia, providing structure and systematic approach to reading and writing. For another example, like researchers like Dr. Samuel Orton play a pivotal role in this era. His work alongside others led to creation of structured reading programs such as the Orton-Gillingham approach. This methodology implicitly target phenomenon awareness deficit in children with dyslexia, offering a multisensory and systematic way to build literacy skills.
Next is increased reconnection of environmental and neurological factors. During the consolidation phase on 1962 until 1975, the increased reconnection of environmental and neurological factors transformed the understanding of learning disabilities. This shift emphasized the interaction between biological mechanisms and external influences, fostering a more comprehensive approach to identifying and addressing these challenges in educational contexts. For the explanation, neurological research revealed that specific brain regions are critical for learning process. For example, studies demonstrated how deficit the left hemisphere, especially in the areas responsible for language processing, could lead to conditions like dyslexia. Such findings underscore that learning disabilities are not result of laziness or lack of intelligence, but rather root in environmental factors such as inadequate teaching methods, socioeconomic disparities, and limited access to educational resources were recognized as significant contributor to learning outcomes.
The shift toward individualized education plans, which is IEPs, mark a turning point in addressing the needs of students with learning disabilities. Previously, schools used a one-size-fits-all approach, learning many struggling. As understanding of learning disabilities grew, so did the recognition that students require personalized education. IEPs are tailored to provide students with disabilities the support they need, created collaboratively by parents, teachers, and specialists. This plan sets specific goals and strategies, offering accommodation like extra time on tests or specialized instruction. This ensures every child has an equal opportunity to learn. The push for IEPs gained momentum in the 1960s and 1970s, fueled by a focus on educational equality. The Elementary and Secondary Education Act 1965 improved access for disadvantaged children, and the Education for All Handicapped Children Act 1975 mandated free personalized education for students with disabilities, requiring IEPs for eligible students. IEPs not only benefit students but also foster collaboration between families and schools, making education more inclusive. Over time, advancement in research and technology have enhanced this system, ensuring greater support for diverse learners. By addressing individuals' needs, IEPs have made education fairer and more accessible. Finally, the role of psychology and educators in advocacy and awareness. Advocacy efforts during this phase by psychologists, educators, and parents helped raise awareness of learning disabilities and led to the development of public policies aimed at supporting these students. The 1960s and 1970s were a time of significant growth in both advocacy and legislative action. For the role of psychology in advocacy is by promoting mental health awareness. For example, psychologists often lead mental health campaigns to reduce the stigma around mental health conditions like anxiety, depression, and ADHD. They educate schools and communities on how to recognize signs of mental health issues and provide resources for support. There is a research shows that early interventions and awareness of mental health can lead to better outcomes for students. The role of educators in advocacy and awareness is advocating for inclusive education. For example, teachers advocate for students with learning disability or from diverse backgrounds by pushing for resources, adaptation, and support service in the classroom. This might include using assistive technology, changing teaching methods, or collaborating with psychologists and counselors. A study by National Center for Learning Disability showed that when students with learning disability are included in general education classrooms with proper support, they will perform better academically and feel more socially connected.
In conclusion, the consolidation phase between 1962 and 1975 play a crucial role in shaping the modern understanding of learning disabilities. It contributes to the establishment of clear diagnostic criteria, specialized instructional method, and legal protection for students with learning disabilities, marking a turning point in both theory and practice in special education.